It's been 10 years since Cornerhouse closed its doors, and I've been looking back. Back through the films I've made about the place on the corner, back through the things I've kept, the things I've stolen, the things I've collected, and through the cinema tickets which opened up so many exciting landscapes. This is a personal portrait of a key place in my life. It is also, in some respects, a self-portrait, which begins with the bookshop, which I first stumbled upon after a school visit to Manchester Metropolitan University. I asked my head of year if I could make my own way home, explaining that I knew my way around town and that I lived closer to Manchester than I did to school. She said no, but I was away, and before long I ducked into Cornerhouse to get out of the rain. I browsed through the magazines and film books and felt a spark. I took a programme, bought a dandelion and burdock, and sat in the cafe looking through the upcoming films. Classics, world cinema, all sorts. I saw my first film at Cornerhouse on October 29th, 2010. I went with my Uncle Paul to see the then new restoration of Fritz Lang's masterpiece, Metropolis. I had wanted to see it for years, and the spectacle was well worth waiting for. My eyes were opened to wonderful new things. My uncle enjoyed it as well, though he's less inclined to waffle. His opinion of Cornerhouse circa 2014.
It's full of, pretentious wankers most of the time. That's my personal opinion of it all.
Alright, well, we'll be sure to use that.
You've not taped that, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, have you?
He did later have a few warmer words to say about it.
I like the cinema, and I also like the fact that, dependent on what's showing, you can sometimes get a talk from somebody before or a Q&A thing afterwards with somebody who's connected with it, or somebody who's in-house who's interested in film themselves. I find that quite interesting as well.
We still go to home cinema fairly regularly. Shortly after Metropolis, I joined Livewire and acquired my young membership card. Cinema tickets, £3. Many visits to Cornerhouse followed, from school to college, where I took an A-level in film studies. In my second year, I applied for the first run of the BFI Film Academy programme. I saw The Third Man for the first time, which became an instant favourite. That's me there in the red shirt. On a documentary filmmaking workshop with my friend Sam. Most of us together at the end of the project. Some of us would collaborate again on an early short film of mine, Emilia, I Love You, a Cornerhouse micro-commission. My experiences learning to make and then trying to make films spurred me on to study the subject at art school. Not long into the course, I collaborated with Paulie for the first time, making The Place on the Corner, a documentary about Cornerhouse in advance of its closure the following year. In that last year, I continued to visit. This was my favourite seat in Cinema 1, across the road. I always loved this Frank O'Hara quote on the back of the seat in front. It was the epigraph for our film. On April 2nd, 2015, Cornerhouse screened its final film, David Lynch's Blue Velvet. Here is a photo of Cinema 1 during the original release of the film back in 1986. And here is a similar photo that I took on the closing night. I couldn't get a ticket for the film, which screened as part of the That's a Wrap season, commemorating the closure. I would eventually see it for the first time, at home, almost 10 years later. Instead, I spent the evening in the bar. I spent pretty much every day of that last week at Cornerhouse. I think I saw 3 or 4 films, the last of which was Still Alice. On that closing night, I stole menus and some bits of signage. 2 days later, Cornerhouse had their closing party, an event called The Storming, which had also sold out before I could buy a ticket. At the very last minute, I managed to get hold of one. After a short wait, the strangers selling me their spare told me they were en route. I'll miss you, signed in condensation. The storming went on until 4 a.m. I was the last person to leave before Cornerhouse closed its doors for a final time. My other claim to fame, Cornerhouse-wise, was that I was the only civilian to be allowed inside the lightbox marquee, inside which I shot this shaky, practically unusable footage.
Quick shot of me in here, just to prove that I'm in there.
With Cornerhouse closed for good, all I had were memories and keepsakes. From the storming, the performance times. This roll of 16mm film from Chris Paul Daniels' installation piece, The World Spins, personally donated by the artist himself. Elizabeth Willow's A Storm of Words, and my glib, slightly drunken contribution. Asha Pandit's tribute, a zine entitled Graphic Anthropology, with receipt. old programmes and additions to the guide, notes from an edition of Film Up that I attended in the annex space, marketing bits and pieces for Cornerhouse Publications, Cornerhouse Scribbler, a film noir season which I didn't make the most of, and the final exhibition inspired by Jacques Tati's Playtime. A bill for what might have been the last time I had a pizza there. A different pizza on a different occasion inspired a short conversation piece I wrote and directed entitled The Two Pence. I was treated to lunch at Cornerhouse Cafe by someone who not only refused to leave a tip, but asked for the 2 pence change. I was penniless and therefore powerless to right the wrong.
You tight bastard.
What?
As MMU took over after the closure, I was able to film the scene right where it had originally taken place.
You've just asked her for 2 pence change.
Yeah, so what?
Are you joking?
Wait,
2 pence? Why do you want 2 pence
It wasn't
back?
exactly a first-class meal, was it?
Continuing to look back, my first grad film, The Kick Inside, screened in Cinema 2 as part of our degree show, Rushes, back in 2016.
Hello?
Outside the old Cornerhouse, with the cast Ellie and Barney, art director Paulie, and director of photography Sophie. I also revisited the place on the corner, adding new elements to create a cine remix entitled The Ghosts on the Corner. I have since collected a number of bits and pieces from home, primarily every cinema ticket from every film I've seen there. The first 7.5 years of tickets were collated to make an experimental collage piece. I recently found this one, a ticket for How Ha, which I saw in Cinema 2 at home as part of a test event sometime before it officially opened. Should it have been included? Possibly. I also acquired a number of Cornerhouse programmes dating back to 1998, filled with film screenings I'd have loved to have been to. A Studio Ghibli double bill here, screwball comedies and Krzysztof Kieślowski there. Hitchcock, Wallace and Gromit, retrospectives of Pedro Almodovar and Mike Leigh. It's a shame that this collection ends shortly before October 2010, though I did find a digital copy online. Metropolis, Friday 29th. I still walk past the old buildings quite often, and occasionally they still inspire 10 years later. Time rushes by, love rushes by, life rushes by. But the cinema goes on. And when I think of the cinema, I think of Cornerhouse, of having to cross the road to get to Cinema 1 or walk down the narrow stairwell to get to Cinemas 2 and 3, of the gallery upstairs, the cafe, the hidden annexes and subterranean spaces, and most importantly, I think of the films. Just down the road, at a home from home, its spirit endures and thrives. But in my heart, Cornerhouse, forever.